Ja, hallo und herzlich willkommen zurück zu Planescape Torment. Wir sind noch dabei, die Lehren von Zerthimon zu erlernen, beziehungsweise den Unbroken Circle zu studieren. Unlock Nummer 1 und 2 haben wir schon. Deswegen beschäftigen wir uns jetzt mal mit dem dritten. Unlock the third circle of Zerthimon. You slide the plates into the configuration Dak'kon showed you, and a new wing is revealed. The wing carries the same script as you read before. Blah blah blah. Read the third circle. Zerthimon labored many turnings for the illithid. Zerthimon labored many turnings for the illithid Alati twice deceased. Schöner Name. And his partnership in the cavernous heavens of the false worlds. His duties would have broken the backs of many others, but Zerthimon labored on, suffered torment and exhaustion. Continue. It came to pass that the illithid Alati, twice deceased, ordered Zerthimon before him in his many-veined Galleria. He claimed that Zerthimon had committed slights of obstinance and cowardice against his partnership. The claim had no weight of truth, for Alati only wished to know if flames raged within Zerthimon's heart. He wished to know if Zerthimon's heart was one of a slave or of a rebel. Zerthimon surrendered to the illithid punishment rather than reveal his newfound strength. He knew that were he to show the hatred in his heart, it would serve nothing, and it would harm others that felt as he. Nicht doof. He chose to endure the punishment and was placed within the pillars of silence, so he might suffer for a turning. Lashed upon the pillars, Zerthimon moved his mind to a place where pain could not reach, leaving his body behind. He lasted a turning, and when he was brought before Alathi, twice deceased, he gave gratitude for his punishment to the illithid, as was custom. In so doing, he proved himself a slave in the illithid eyes, while his heart remained free. By enduring and quenching the fires of his hatred, he allowed Alathi, twice deceased, to think him weak. When the time of the rising came, Alathi was the first of the illithid to know death by Zerthimon's hand and die a third death. Okay.
What is your will?
Teachings. What did you come to know? Endure. In enduring, grow strong. Ja, das werden wir auch noch machen müssen. Wir werden noch eine ganze Menge lesen müssen. Aber ich nehme es schon vorweg, es lohnt sich. Also nicht nur ist es ganz interessant, um so ein bisschen was über die Glypserei zu erfahren, sondern auch konkret für uns alle, für unsere Party lohnt sich das. Endure. In enduring, grow strong. The words you speak seem to strike Dak'kon strangely. Ja, er sagt es doch selber immer. As you speak them, his forehead creases, then resettles into its normal passive expression. Gained item. Your will has brought you the knowing of the third circle of Zerthimon. With this knowing, I impart this to you. He takes the circle and with a depth. Yeah. He hands the plate to you. Meditate upon its teachings, and the knowing of it shall give you strength. Very well, I will study this circle. Is there more you can teach me? As you ask the words, you suddenly notice that Dak'kon isn't looking at you. He is holding the unbroken circle in his hand, studying it. His blade has taken on the same texture as the unbroken circle, and Dak'kon suddenly seems older somehow. Dak'kon? Dak'kon's black eyes rise from the circle and look at you. Know that I did not believe you would come to know the teachings of the circle. It is a difficult path you will walk in learning the way of Zerthimon. Is your mind focused on this matter? Yes, I wish to learn more. Dak'kon's fingers feel around the edges of the stone circle and twisted clockwise, the links clicking until they have settled into new configuration. He then the next circle of Zerthimon is open to you. Study it. Very well.
I feel stronger.
Ja, allein durch das Lesen von diesem Kram werden wir schon einige Level kriegen. Level up. Okay. Okay. Yep. Gut, was haben wir gekriegt? The third circle. Submerge the will.
It's in my spell book.
Gut. Also wieder den Circle. Use. Unlock the fourth circle. You slide the plates into the configuration Dak'kon showed you. Read the fourth circle. Know that the rising of the people against the Illithid was a thing built upon many 10 turnings of labor. Many of the people were gathered and taught in secret the ways of defeating their Illithid masters. They were taught to shield their minds and use them as weapons. They were taught the scripture of steel, and most importantly, they were given the knowing of freedom. Some of the people learned the nature of freedom and took it into their hearts. The knowing gave them strength. Others feared freedom and kept silent. But there were those that knew freedom and knew slavery, and it was their choice that the people remained chained. One of these was Vilkor. Vilkor saw no freedom in the rising, but opportunity. He saw that the Illithid had spawned across many of the false worlds. Their worlds numbered so many that their vision was turned only outwards, to all they did not already touch. Vilkor's eyes saw that much took place that the Illithid did not see. To the rising the Illithid were blinded. Vilkor came before his master, the Illithid Zerthimon, with a knowing of the rising. Vilkor added to his chains and offered to be their eyes against the rising. In exchange, Vilkor asked that he be rewarded for his service. The Illithid agreed to his contract. At the bonding of the contract, a dark time occurred. Many were the betrayals Vilkor committed, and many were the people that the Illithids fed upon to stem the rising. It seemed that the rising would die before it could occur, and the Illithid were pleased with Vilkor's eye. It was near the end of this dark time when Zerthimon came to know Vilkor's treacheries. In knowing Vilkor's eye, Zerthimon forced the rising to silence itself, so that Vilkor might think at last his treacheries had succeeded and the rising had fallen. He knew that Vilkor's eye was filled only with the reward he had been promised. He would see that what he wished to see. With greed beating in his heart, Vilkor came upon the Illithid Zerthimon and spoke to his master of his success. He said that the rising had fallen and the Illithids were safe to turn their eyes outwards once more. He praised their wisdom in using Vilkor's eye, and he asked them for his reward. In his greed blindness, Vilkor had forgotten the knowing of why the people had sought freedom. He had lost the knowing of what slavery meant. He had forgotten what his Illithid masters saw when they looked upon him. And so Vilkor's betrayal of the people was ended with another betrayal. Vilkor came to know that when Vilkor's eye had nothing left to see, Vilkor's eye was useless. The Illithid gave to Vilkor his reward, opening the cavity of his skull and devouring his brain. Vilkor's corpse was cast upon the fields of husks, so its blood might water the poison-stemmed grasses. Ja. Schön. So. Und wieder mit Dak'kon sprechen.
What is your will?
Teachings. What did you come to know? When one chooses to see only what is before them, they see only a part of the whole. They are blind, and just as Vilkor was blinded by his promised reward, so were the Illithids blinded by the true rising. For when they heard Vilkor's words, they turned their sight outwards again, didn't they? And the rising was free to strike. Know that you speak truly. Vilkor's eye blinded both Vilkor and the Illithids. The tentacled ones thought the rising to be no more. When the rising occurred, the ground drank deep of illicit blood. So was victory born from treachery. It is a curious lesson. Why would it be part of the teachings of Zerthimon? Dak'kon's blade bleeds into a dead night black, and his voice deepens. For a moment you think he's angry, but you're not so sure. There's much about the way of Zerthimon and his path that is difficult to know. Do you know why Vilkur's Eye is part of the way of Zerthimon? It is part of the telling of how our people came to know freedom. It lets us know that there are those, even among the people, who are not of the people, and that even in the greatest treachery, a greater knowing may be achieved. Very well. You have come to know the fourth circle of Zerthimon. He takes the circle, and with a deft motion he twists one of the links so one of the plates slides forth. He hands the plate to you. Meditate upon its teachings, and the knowing of it shall give you strength. I would know more. The next circle of Zerthimon is open to you. Study it, then I will hear your words. Very well. Und same procedure as last time. Vilkur's Eye, das macht genau Blinding, glaube ich, ne? Das ist ja der Gag. Das steht hier nicht mal, ja? Ich glaube.
It's in my spellbook.
Wir lernen ihn auf jeden Fall. So, und dann geht's mal in den nächsten Circle. Fifth circle. You slide the plates into the configuration. You read the fifth circle. Zerthimon was the first to know the way of freedom. Yet it was not he that first came to know the way of rebellion. The knowing of rebellion came to the warrior Queen Gith, one of the people. She had served the Illithids upon many of the false worlds as a soldier, and she had come to know war, and carried it in her heart. She had come to know how others might be organized to subjugate others. She knew the paths of power, and she knew the art of taking from the conquerors the weapons by which they could be defeated. Her mind was focused, and both her will and her blade were as one. The turning in which Zerthimon came to know Gith, Zerthimon ceased to know himself. Her words were as fires lit in the hearts of all who heard her. In hearing her words, he wished to know war. He knew not what afflicted him, but he knew he wished to join his blade to Gith. He wished to give his hate expression and share his pain with the Illithid. Gith was one of the people, and her knowing of herself was greater than any Zerthimon had ever encountered. She knew the ways of flesh, she knew the Illithids, and in knowing herself she was to know how to defeat them in battle. The strength of her knowing was so great that all those that walked her path come to know themselves. Gith was but one. Her strength was such that it caused others to know their strength, and Zerthimon laid his steel at her feet. Okay, Dak'kon.
What is your will?
Teachings. What did you come to know? There's great strength in numbers, but there's great power in one, for the strength of the will of one may gather numbers to it. There's strength not only in knowing the self, but knowing how to bring it forth in others. You have come to know the fifth circle of Zerthimon. With this knowing, I impart this to you. Okay, meditate upon its teachings. I would like to know more. The next circle of Zerthimon is open to you. Study it and I will hear your words. Okay. Jetzt haben wir Power of One.
It's in my spellbook.
Sehr gut. Use. Unlock the sixth circle. Read the sixth circle. Upon the blasted plains, Zerthimon told Gith there cannot be two skies. In the wake of his words came war. Upon the blasted plains, the people had achieved victory over their Illithid masters. They knew freedom. Yet before the green fires had died from the battlefield, Gith spoke of continuing the war. Many, still filled with a bloodlust in their heart, agreed with her. She spoke of not merely defeating the Illithids, but destroying all Illithids across the plains. After the Illithids had been exterminated, they would bring war to all other races they encountered. Okay, ja. Ja, ein bisschen Dalek-mäßig, ne? Wir bringen einfach alles andere um. Dann haben wir keine Probleme mehr. Na, da wird Zerthimon ja wohl was gegen haben. In Gith's heart, fires raged. She lived in war, and in war she knew herself. All that her eyes saw, she wanted to conquer. Zerthimon spoke the beginnings of that which was against Gith's will. He spoke that the people already knew freedom. Now they should know themselves again and mend the damage that had been done to the people. Behind his words were many other hearts of the people who were weary of the war against the Illithid. Know that Gith's heart was not. Know that Gith's heart was not Zerthimon's heart on this matter. She said that the war would continue. The Illithid would be destroyed. Their flesh would be no more. Then the people would claim the false worlds as their own. Gith told Zerthimon that they would be under the same sky in this matter. The words were like barred steel. Bared steel. Barred steel? Whatever. From Zerthimon came the pronouncement of two skies. In the wake of his words came war. Okay? Dak'kon.
What is your will?
What did you come to know? I know that Zerthimon's devotion to the people was such that he was willing to protect them from themselves. He knew the Illithids had come not to know themselves in their obsession with control and domination. So he chose to stop Gith before she carried the people to their deaths. There must be balance in all things, or else the self will not hold. Oh, 2 items. You have seen the worlds and know them. Dak'kon's voice slows, and his hands grip the edges of the unbroken circle. He twists it clockwise, and there's a click as 2 plates slides forth. Dak'kon stares at the 2 plates in his hands. He makes no move to hand them to you. Dak'kon, is that second plate for you? Dak'kon falls silent. Das ist ja irgendwie halb intelligent, dieser Unbroken Circle, ist ja Wahnsinn. Dak'kon falls silent. His blade has ceased shimmering, the film freezing upon its surface. He is staring at the second plate, paralyzed. Ach, der kann den noch gar nicht. Do you know the 6th circle? Dak'kon looks up, but his cold black eyes do not meet your gaze. No, there's nothing more I may teach you. You know the way as the people know it, and it shall give you the direction by which you may know yourself. Yeah, that's not what I asked. Do you know the 6th circle or not? Dak'kon is silent for a moment, then speaks. His voice slow and careful. It has come to pass that I do not know the 6th circle of Zerthimon. Once I knew it, but I know now I only saw the words. Dak'kon's eyes stare through you. That is all. It is my path that I no longer know the way of Zerthimon. Dak'kon, there's one other thing I would know. Why is Vilga's eye in the circle of Zerthimon? It seems strange. It tells of how the people benefited from a treachery from their own. It seems... Dak'kon's eyes flash. I have told you it is part of the telling of how the people came to know freedom. Do you not listen? His voice flattens as if he is reciting a passage from memory. It tells the people that even in the greatest treachery a greater knowing may be achieved. It doesn't sound to me like you believe that. I think there's another reason Vilga's eye is in the circle of Zerthimon. It is set there because of the 6th circle and the pronouncement of 2 skies. It's there to justify Zerthimon's treachery to the people upon the blasted plains. Dak'kon is silent, and his blade bleeds into a dead black teeth rippling along the edge. He divided the people upon the blasted plains, Dak'kon. He divided your race when they were on the path of victory. I would like to believe that it was because he wished to save the people from themselves, but I don't think you believe that. Dak'kon is silent for a moment, then he speaks slowly. I do not know the sixth circle, as it is known to others. I fear that the third circle, the fourth circle, and the sixth circle are more closely linked than many know. It is in that knowing that I have lost myself. In the third circle, Zerthimon submerged his will to deceive the Illithids. Then in the fourth circle, it speaks of the benefits of treachery. Then in the sixth circle, Zerthimon divides his people before they exterminate the Illithids. Do you think Zerthimon's words may not have been his own? Know my words, and know the wound that lies upon my heart. I fear that when Zerthimon was upon the pillars of silence, he did not submerge his will. I fear his will was taken from him by the Illithids. And when he spoke upon the blasted plains, it was their words he spoke. I fear that what he did was not for the people's sake, but for our former masters. It's possible, but no, it doesn't necessarily mean that...
Updated my journal.
Then know this and speak of it no more. Dak'kon's voice is like a knife. Know that I shall never know the truth. There's no resolution to this matter, for I shall never know Zerthimon's heart upon the blasted plains. Skull-black eyes glare at the stone circle in his hand. And so I do not know myself, because of the unbroken circle of Zerthimon. Very well, Dak'kon. We'll discuss this no more. Let's move on.
I feel stronger.
Gottes Willen. Na, Level. Wie schön. So. Quatsch. Ja, und tatsächlich 2 gekriegt. Balance in all things. Okay. Aber wir können uns ja einfach den Circle... Kann er das denn lernen? Da können wir mal speichern, sicherheitshalber. Wünschen Dak'kon.
Spell has been added to my teachings.
Ist ja super. Und gucken, ob wir aus dem Unbroken Circle noch was rauskriegen. Examine the plate, see if you can puzzle out any new combinations. Ja, warum nicht? Aha! As you examine the rings of the second circle, you find a strange link in the plate that mentions the laboring of the Gith people to achieve the rising. A new circle emerges from the link and you unlock it, pulling the plate forth so you can study it. Read the symbols. Know that the rising of the people against the Illithid was a thing built upon many turnings. Many were the people who lived and died under Time's blade while the rising was shaped. The rising was shaped upon a slow foundation. Steel was gathered so that it might mark Illithid flesh. A means of knowing the movements of the Illithids was established, at first weak and confused, then stronger, like a child finding its voice. When the movements were known, then the Illithids were observed. In observing them, their ways of the mind were known. When the ways of the Illithid were known, many of the people were gathered and taught in secret the means to shield their minds, and the way to harness their will as weapons. They were taught the scripture of steel, and most importantly, they were given the knowing of freedom. These things were not learned quickly. The knowing of much of the ways was slow, and in all these things, Time's weight fell upon all. From the knowing of one's reflection in a steel blade, to the knowing of submerging the will, to the knowing of seeing itself. All of these things and more the people built upon. In time, they came to know the whole. Okay, mal gucken, was Dak'kon dazu sagt.
What is your will?
There was a seventh circle within the stone of Zerthimon. It spoke of the building of the rebellion against the Illithids. Dak'kon falls silent. What does this seventh circle speak of? It speaks of time as an ally, not as an enemy. It says that patience can sharpen even the smallest of efforts into a weapon that can strike the heart of an empire. Your victories may be small, but over time a greater victory may be achieved. Dak'kon is silent for a moment. Will you make this circle known to me? Take the Unbroken Circle of Zerthimon and unlock the seventh circle. As you take the circle and twist the links, two plates. Ja klar, wenn er den sechsten schon nicht konnte. Slide from the interior into your hands. You have no idea where they came from. Ja, das ist eine gute Frage, da ist ja eine ganze Menge drin. But the Unbroken Circle still seems intact. The seventh circle remains. Dak'kon watches you silently. There are two plates here. Perhaps we should both study them, you and I. Dak'kon is silent for a moment. Schon wieder? There's much you have come to know of the circle, and your knowing carries a greater weight than mine. Dak'kon matches your gaze. Know that your path is mine, and it shall come to pass that as you knew the way of Zerthimon from me, I shall know the way of Zerthimon from you. Very well, Dak'kon. Let's move on. Missile of Patience. Nett. Gut. Gucken, ist da noch was drin? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Ja, dann gucken wir mal, ob es noch einen 8. gibt. As you examine the rings of the seven circles of the Zerthimon, you suddenly become aware of a pattern in the way the links are formed. You hook your fingers into the sides of the circle and unlock a hidden segment, pulling the plate forth so you can study it. Know that a mind divided divides the man. The will and the hand must be as one. In knowing the self, one becomes strong. Know that if you know a cause of action to be true in your heart, do not betray it, because the path leads to hardship. Know that without suffering the rising would have never been, and the people would have never come to know themselves. Know that there is nothing in all the worlds that can stand against unity. When all know a single purpose, when all hands are guided by one will, and all act with the same intent, the planes themselves may be moved. Okay, das ist ein bisschen beunruhigend. A divided mind is one that does not know itself. When it is divided, it cleaves the body in two. When one is a single purpose, the body is strengthened, and knowing the self grows strong. Quatsch. Dak'kon?
What is your will?
Aber vorher will ich mir nochmal was angucken. Ja, 17. Okay. So, Dak'kon.
What is your will?
Things I would know. Talk about your teachings. There was an 8th circle within the stone of Zerthimon. It spoke of division of the mind and the importance of focus. Dak'kon falls silent. When he speaks again, his tone is quiet, almost reverent. What does this 8th circle speak of? It speaks of focus and discipline, about how not knowing oneself can physically divide the man. It also speaks of the weaknesses that division causes. It seems to me that it tells one to not only know themselves and take strength from that, but that your focus can reveal weaknesses in your enemy. Dak'kon is silent for a moment. Will you make this circle known to me? Ja. Woo. As you take the circle and twist the links, 2 more plates slide from the interior and into your hands. As with the 7th circle, you have no idea where they came from, but the Unbroken Circle still seems intact. The 8th circle remains. Dak'kon watches you silently. There are 2 plates here. We should both study them, you and I. I think when you know the 8th circle, perhaps then you will know Zerthimon's heart when he made the pronouncement of 2 skies. His words were not those of the Illithids, but of the people. Dak'kon stares at the plates, his eyes flickering over the geometries upon them, then looks up and matches your gaze. His blade bends, shifts, until the shimmering you noticed before has become a silver glow. He seems stronger somehow.
In knowing the teachings of Zerthimon, I have become stronger.
Jo, in der Tat. Know that when death comes for you, know that I shall meet its blade with mine. Know that when all dies around you, know I shall live for your sake. When we die, Dak'kon, it shall be the same death. It shall be the pronouncement of 2 deaths as one.
I feel stronger.
Wow, es ist eine Menge passiert hier. Also, können wir jetzt erstmal aufsteigen. Und sind schon fast an Level 6, das ist Wahnsinn. Dak'kon kann aufsteigen. Mhm. Okay. Mord, sorry, mit dir haben wir jetzt nichts gemacht, aber dafür hast du jetzt Stärke 18, Dexterity 18, Constitution 18, ja. Hat dir einiges gebracht, dass du nicht mehr an Zerthimon zweifelst. Ich denn, wer weiß wie lange dich das schon gequält hat. Beziehungsweise wie viel Potenzial dir gefehlt hat. Super. Ja, damit haben wir die kleine Dak'kon-Exkursion abgeschlossen fürs Erste. Ich glaube sogar fürs Allermeiste. Wir haben den Unbroken Circle of Zerthimon komplett studiert. Und ich würde sagen, beim nächsten Mal machen wir dann... Oh, das wird langsam hell. Beim nächsten Mal machen wir dann mit Sigil weiter. Und mit der Gegenwart. Nicht mehr so viel mit der Vergangenheit. Okay, dann bedanke ich mich für die Aufmerksamkeit und wir sehen uns beim nächsten Mal mit mehr Planescape Torment. Bis dahin, tschüss.